Welcome to this episode of the $1 Million Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of $1 Million Mastermind. I'm talking with Stephen Ferrone, English drummer, member of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers for 25 years. Well-known drummer, has played with just about everybody in the industry over the years, and now hosts, among other things, his own radio show.
Radio voice.
Yeah, you got a great radio voice, by the way, on Tom Petty Radio, the New Guy show. And how does talk about the 25 transformative years? Because the thing is, in life, we don't know what's in front of us. Yeah. But you can chase after it, you can go for it, or you can shrink. But I have the looking at you from a distance and talking with Alan about you, it appears that you've always been. First of all, you got a phenomenal attitude. People enjoy being around you, not just playing with you, but you stayed on the attack, much like Clapton has. You're playing. You're a drummer. He's a guitar player. He likes to, like he says, he likes to play with top people, and mainly he's got to do that. He's got to have a reason to do that, so he tours. That's what I do. And so you record, you tour, and you continue to operate at the highest level. How has that, what have you learned about life and enjoying life and continuing to accomplish rewarding things, Steve? I mean, do you ever reach the point where you feel like, I've made it? I mean, I played all the top venues in the world. I know all these famous artists, and I'm friends with them. I got them a speed dial, and there's no worlds left unless you want to be an actor or a comedian, Steve.
I really love doing. I really love making music. I really enjoy that, and the Heartbreakers. The Heartbreakers for me was something that was really special because is such an authentic band. I don't know. I've been in bands that socialized a lot more than the Heartbreakers did. We don't socialize that much, although we can always go drop in on somebody's house.
Right.
Nobody's sort of, I think Ben and I hang out more than anybody else. Sometimes I hang out with Ron Blair too. I go and see him quite a bit.
That's Ben Montench, the keyboard player, and then Ron Blair is the bassist, the original bassist. Yeah.
But I think that this band was really, when we would get together, we would make music, and it was a love of making music that we had that really bound that band together. We sometimes we wouldn't see each other forever. We'd come back and walk into that room, and we sit there and we'd start to play, and it wouldn't take long to shake off the cobwebs, and Tom would turn around and say, "Yeah, sounds just like him."
Yeah,
sounds just like him, and there it was. It was a musical and familial experience. I mean, it was just wonderful. But I have great relationships with other musicians, Nathan East, Greg Fillinganes, and their families are like my family. I mean, there's just been so many.
What do you do? What do you do when you there's ebb and flow when you're in charge? You're playing as a solo artist with other bands and everything. There's ebb and flow of how busy you are, or while you're on tour or not. When things slow down, what do you do to get going again, to make contacts, let people know that, find out what's going on? How does that work?
I, I used to, well, there was a time when I would just sit in my house and drink. I drink 151 rum and wonder what I'd done to offend people. Nowadays, what I do is that I usually go and involve myself with other recovering alcoholics, and I try to help the guys that need to be helped.
And that's rewarding.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like stuff just shows up. Yeah, I mean, look, when Tom died, it was totally unexpected. The last time I saw him was after we went to his hotel after the Hollywood Bowl, and he was talking about not working as hard but doing some stuff. He wanted to do the Wildflowers tour, and he had plans, and I'd never seen him like that after a tour. Usually Tom was like, that's it, I never want to do this again, I'm never going to go out on the road again. I'm fed up with this. And he would go home and he'd put on his robe and he'd stay in his robe for months at a time and just roam the halls of his house. And that was it. You wouldn't see or hear anything of him for a while, until until one day he'd say, give me that guitar over there. And then he'd start playing a song and the process would start again. But this time he had a lot of stuff that he wanted to do and that he was going to get around to doing and producing some records and doing some other stuff. And then he died. He was gone.
Yeah.
And it was more, where's our friend gone?
Yeah.
And it was, where's our job gone? It was like, what was that all about? Where did he go?
Right. Yeah.
And so I've spent the last 2017, so 5 years now. The last 5 years, I don't live very far away from Van Nuys Airport, and I would drive by Van Nuys Airport with my fiance, with Julia, and I'd say, I guess those days are gone. Those days are done. Yeah. No more private jets. No more 5-star hotels. And she said, don't be silly. You got a lot of life in you. What are you talking about? I'm now 71 years old. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
71-year-old rock drummer. What's going to happen? So I do little projects. I record at home. I got my pension. That'll be about it for me. And the phone rings, and it's Pino Palladino, and he says to me, "You interested in going on the road?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't. Well, what is it?" And he says, "You want to go on the road, John Mayer? Love for you to come play with him." Yeah, well, that would be nice. Yeah, I think that would be cool. And a week ago, I was on a private jet flying to the East Coast. And today I'm sitting in the Four Seasons Hotel with COVID. There's a wonderful world. We're given, I think, if you're a musician and you're listening to this to get something, I get a lot of people come out and say, wait, do you have an agent? Who's the agent? Who's an agent that it's funny. I was given this gift, this amazing gift that I've been given of playing music, and being able to play the drums pretty well, I guess. Right? People seem to think that I play. I'm not saying I'm not blowing. People, they think I play very well. So
absolutely.
And I've been given this gift, and I don't think God's ready for me not to have it yet. When he's ready for that, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. But you've seen insecurities in band members cause meltdowns that didn't need to happen, where like the same kind of thing. We all have, I think, Steve, everybody, when we all walk into a party that we don't know the people there, we think everybody else is having a great time. They all know each other. I don't know anybody. What am I doing here? And then you find out half the room feels the same way. and you're not the only one, and then you start meeting some people, all of a sudden, the barriers are down. But people go through life, and the first tendency is to feel like, I've offended someone, or they're offending me, or what did they mean by that?
That's what I said. That's what I said before. Is like when my phone didn't ring, I would sit down with a bottle of 151 and 151 rum, yeah, and sit there and feel sorry for myself and say, "What have I done? Who have I offended?" And the fact I had,
yeah. And now you find, and
I could have gone on vacation.
Instead of just enjoying the time off, I mean, everyone has a tendency to fall into the racked with insecurities, over my age, either too young, too old, or I don't, the people that I was counting on, the manager is no longer in the business. I don't know these people. The industry's changed. The music, how do you make it in the music business now? And there's all kind of ways to feel paranoid and insecure if you fall into that. What do you tell the people? You say you go into the Alcoholics Anonymous and counsel people. What are things that you find really helps people when they're going through their recovery?
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whitelmwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
Well, I mean, I think what you have to have is you have to have experience. You have to be able to be honest enough to talk about what's going on with you.
Yeah.
For example, what we were talking about just now, when I said, when my phone didn't ring, I got scared and I used to get a bottle of 151.
Yeah.
And wonder what I'd done to people, who I'd offended. Right? You related to that right away.
Right.
Okay? When I'm talking to somebody that's just found out that they got this massive problem with drinking and can't imagine life without doing that, when they talk to somebody who's felt the way that they felt, maybe not had the same experience, but have been in that place of that feeling of being lost, and they all of a sudden, man, this guy's talking about he knows how I feel.
Yeah.
Then that seems to be able to convince them. I know it worked for me, because it did it to me. And I thought that I was unique, and then I found out that there's other people that have been through the same sort of stuff, and that there was the other side. I mean, for me, my life was over, finished.
Right.
The people was like, no, it's just something that you got to go through, and you'll come out the other side. You'll be fine.
Well, when you, one of the things I talk to people about is, you can read books and tapes and this, that, and the other, but at some point, and I think helps, is goes behind what you're doing with the other, when you go talk to people in AA or Alcoholics Anonymous, is like, you're teaching them how to evaluate the situation for themselves rather than fall apart. And to me, it comes in, at some point, you've got to get to where you can be your own best self-coach, because you know how you react
Yeah.
and you know how this, and
Oh,
does that resonate with you?
I'm sitting there talking to a guy. I'm sitting there talking to a guy that has everything going on with him that went on with me, and
Yeah.
that can continue to go on with me if I don't work at not doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So so the guy said, so you had all these troubles too? Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
How did you do it? I had to change, and when I changed, the situation changed.
When let me go back and ask you about Giants. What do you think distinguished those guys in New York that you notice? These guys are Giants, and it was a transformative experience for you to be around them. What you looking back on that now, what do you think were the ingredients of them becoming that way?
Okay, you've been around the Heartbreakers, right?
Yep.
Did you ever stand near the Heartbreakers when they were playing?
I was off stage. I was off stage. Yeah.
On stage.
Yeah.
Stage. So you've been in the proximity.
Right.
You know what it's like to stand next to the Heartbreakers.
Yeah. Sure do.
What that feels like to be in next to that.
Yeah.
That's the same with these other guys. That when you sit down, I stood next to Ray Charles once, and I said to him, I really love the way you play Come Rain or Come Shine. It's one of my favorite songs. And he went, oh, I'm gonna love you like that. And he started to sing. I got goosebumps. Just
Yeah.
and I got to play with him one day.
Wow.
Later, I got to play with him. That was at the midnight special. And then years later, I got to play with him at Montreux Festival.
Fantastic.
Years later.
Tom Petty, on one of his introductions, and I just think I saw this on YouTube recently. He was going to introducing the band, and he said, probably the greatest musician that I know, Steve Ferrone. What does that mean to you when you hear that? And what do you think it meant to him when he said, great musician? Let's face it, Ben Montench is not a bad musician. Mike Campbell is not a bad musician. All of I'm sure it did piss him off. Maybe that's why he said it. I don't know.
I think what Tom meant by that was that he because musically, I helped these songs. I didn't just sit and play the drums. I listened to his music, and that was what I meant. But about a year after Tom passed away, I got inducted into the Rock Walk of Fame in my hometown in Brighton.
Oh, congratulations! Congratulations.
It might not sound like much to people in Brighton, but it's my hometown. And on the pier at Brighton, they have a plaque up with my name on it. And for me, that was very. And I went back there, and a lot of people, friends and family came, and even the Gretches, Fred Gretsch came from the Gretsch drum.
Really?
Yeah. And showed up there, and Julia had started before we left. Had started to get this film made. People to send in tributes to me, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea she was doing this, right? And she put together this film. She got like a program, and she was messing around with the computer, for weeks. She's sitting there, man. And she said to me, I got something that I want to show you. And I said, I haven't got time. I got work to do. And she kept trying, will you come and listen to, I said, I haven't got time. I just don't know. I'll look at it later. Right? And it was like Nathan East, Eric Clapton and Nathan's family and Greg Fillingays and all these musicians from all over the world and friends. Everybody sent in this stuff, and finally we were at the airport getting ready to leave, and we got an hour and a half before the plane leaves. And she says, okay, now you can sit and watch this. And she gets her computer out and she puts it down, and we're having something. And I say, okay. And we're sitting there, and I start to see these people start to get up there and start to say what I've meant to them in their lives,
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, And I'm watching this, and Eric Clapton shows up on there, and it's Nathan, and there are these other people, and Will Lee, people. I mean, just all these people saying nice stuff about me. And the very last thing that she put on there was Tom announcing me at the Royal Albert Hall when he said, one of the greatest musicians that I ever known.
Oh, she's a good editor.
and it got to that point, and I'm close. I'm going to tell you, I'm close to doing it now.
Yeah,
I burst into tears.
Yeah,
boy, it was just she looked at me and she said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, "No, this is just the greatest. This is the greatest thing that I've ever, the greatest gift that I ever had."
Yeah. You said it all, Steve, and appreciate you sharing. I hope we get a chance to do this again down the road.
Absolutely, anytime.
I'm so proud of you in your career and how you stood up and met challenges of every kind, and how you've been a positive influence in so many powerful people. And the great thing about that, it ripples, it has an effect. I think it's, having people like you around, I think has had an effect on, Eric Clapton, everybody, in the entertainment business has dealt with these kind of issues, and it just shows the kind of impact you can have. And I will say, there's a lot of people that look at Steve Ferrone and say, there goes a giant, Steve.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's for other people to say, not for me.
Right. Do you have a final word that you'd like to leave with people when we wrap this up?
Yeah, I'd like one, talking about guys that, if people are watching this, about learning about drumming and about the ups and downs in life. The other day I was given a choice as to whether I could. They would say that it was me that had COVID that in the band. That's why the reason why they had to do the show acoustically. And of course, my first defense is like, if I want anybody to know that it's me that let everybody down.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's the truth. People should know that. And yeah, of course, yeah. That was a little battle that went on in my head when I got asked that question. 24 hours later, I get a message through Facebook from a young man in England, who was about to do his very first arena concert.
Really?
First time that he'd ever been in an arena.
Yeah.
And the day before he tested positive for COVID. And he said that, he was so disappointed and just was trying to figure out a way around it. And then my story came up on his phone.
Yeah.
That I had tested positive. And he said, if Steve Ferrone can get depped out for a sold out concert at Madison Square Garden, I can get depped out for a concert in Aberdeen, Scotland.
Yeah.
And I wrote that young man back and I said, I want to be the first to know how you felt when you finally get around to doing your first concert.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the way that it works.
Yeah, that's the way that it works. And
it's way more success than any money could buy. Way more success than anything could give is that when you can talk to another fellow human being that way.
Steve, this is so much more from this interview than I could have ever expected. Thanks so much, man. And,
thank you for asking me to do it, Larry. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.